This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
FM 89.9 KMOJ, looking at 33 after the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Little Moments Count. Now, let me let you know the Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focusing on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of a young one's life. Nearly 80% of the brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days of a small moments of interaction. We're talking playing, reading, singing, anything that comes with the physical side of movement and contact within itself. And if you like more information, you can always visit at littlemomentscount.org. Now, this afternoon on the line, we got Zsame. That's right, Zsame Morgan. I'd like to say good early afternoon to you, and how are you doing?
Hey, what up? I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on today.
That's what I'm talking. For the listening audience, can you give us a little bit about yourself, and then even beyond that, about Babycake's book stack?
Yes. My name, like you said, is Zsame. I own a bookstore that is mobile. You may have seen it moving about the Twin Cities. We're named Babycake's Book Stack, and we focus mostly on children's books, but we do carry for all ages. Our store is geared toward the cultures and the languages of the Twin Cities, so we carry about 15 to 20 different languages in the store. And you can find us at any community events over in North Minneapolis and St. Paul and South Minneapolis. We're all over the place. We try to be in the places and the spaces that it's important for families and children to see themselves on the shelves.
No doubt. Now, for the listening audience, can you give us a little bit of insight when it comes to why is it important for young children to see themselves represented in the media and in books?
For sure. So children need to learn from a young age that their experiences matter, that they are seen, that they're worthy, and that they're enough. Otherwise, their decisions can suffer from lack of validation and support, and it affects self-esteem and a sense of identity. So really, what we sow, we reap, and we have to build with and for our children and be the type of reader that we want our children to be. So children may not even know that they need to see themselves in books, that it's important for them to see themselves in books and in media in a positive way until they're older. But as adults, we need to provide a healthy framework in a world that would work very hard to devalue people of color. And many adults tell me when they come and visit me in the store that they didn't see themselves in books and media, in books especially, but in media in positive ways. And they express how important it is for them to see this. And it lends to a sort of healing when you learn that the absence of these images that culturally and linguistically represent the Black community and other communities of color is not because we are in some way unworthy. And so caregivers want their children to be supported in this way and to know that not only do they belong in a wider culture, but that they are an integral part of creating that culture. Media, movies, we have even the people who are writing books and people who are in many different ways interacting in the communities to make sure that children of color can see themselves. And it's so important for us to do that because we know that our contributions are constantly under attack and trying to be erased.
Okay. Now, there's a thing that's entitled window books. There's also something called mirror books. And what is the benefit of both?
Well, that's a great question. So window books open a view to the experiences of our neighbors, our classmates, workmates, and the world at large. They expand on our world view and lay the groundwork for compassion, advocacy, allyship, and celebration of what we see as different from ourselves and our own lived experiences. Helps us to build empathy and fights biases and prejudices. Now, on the other side of that are mirror books. And those are books that help us to look inward and understand ourselves better, to give context to our culture, to our identities, our communities, our values, and our principles. And similarly to looking in a mirror, you can see the beautiful and the not so beautiful aspects of ourselves, things that we want to keep and maybe things to change, and even clues as to how to become change makers in our personal communities.
Now, we're looking at books within themselves, and then we're also in the midst of the holiday season. What are some of your favorite books that you would recommend for the youngsters or youth out there? And then the difference, between, the books themselves for the holiday season. And the reason why I say that is because as we get winter, spring, summer, and fall, and also we got mosquitoes for the state of Minnesota. There's those books that you look at, that you've been around, that you've seen, that you would say, this would be a good read for a youngster at this age and at this time.
Sure. Well, I know that this is the holiday season, but I'm going to give some books that are good for giving as gifts, as well as just to have in your home library for family literacy and reading together. I encourage people to read together with their children for only 15 minutes a day, and it makes a big difference in their comprehension skills and their school with learning how to read. So board books, that's ages 0 to 2 to 3. I would call out books by Vashti Harrison, Dream Big, Little One, and Think Big. Those are beautiful books. That I would say for our community is a mirror book, but a window book would be Mama, Do You Love Me?, which is about an indigenous culture by Barbara Juicy. Picture books, that's ages, I'd say 3 to about 6 or 7-ish. One book that I have to say is a poetry book in that group, picture book, I Am Loved by Nikki Giovanni, who we sadly just lost this week. Also, another beautiful book is called No More Senora Mimi by Meg Medina, looking in on Latina culture. Some chapter books, that's beginning of elementary school, Ways to Make Sunshine and All the Blues in the Sky by Renee Watson. And Mindy Kim, there's a series of books about Mindy Kim, and that's a Korean American child. And that book is written by Lila Lee. Middle grade, I would throw something in there from the deaf culture. There's a book called Show Me a Sign by Anne Claire Lazotte. And I Can Make This Promise, which is a beautiful book about indigenous culture by Christine Day. Under YA, which would be about high school. The middle grade books were exactly that, middle grade. So YA would be 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds. And a book by one of our local contributors, Shannon Gibney, is a book called When We Become Ours, which is a YA adoptee anthology. And of course, you can't forget books by Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. That falls in the adult section, but I always recommend for high school kids to read that book too. Okay. And yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like you got a whole list of books that a lot of us need to take time and read. But even beyond that, when it comes to Babycake's mobile store, the bookstore itself, how can someone learn more about it or find out more information about how to get in contact with you and the mobile side as well?
Yes, so the bookmobile is on the road from April to November. So we're closed that part of it for the season, but we're open online year round. And I can post this list of books. So if anyone wants to go online to purchase any of these or look over them, my website is babykakesbookstack.com. And we're also on social media under Babycakes Bookstack on Facebook and Babycakes Books on Instagram.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you very much for the time and the opportunity, and also letting you know that, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Zsame Morgan, and I'd like to say thank you very
Thank
much
you.
once again. And even beyond that, if you like a copy of this broadcast, you can always lock in to Little Moments Count, or you can visit at littlemomentscount.org/podcast and lock in as well. But also besides that, she's one of my favorite singers as well.
Oh,
And there's a
thank you.
song that's entitled Keep Dreaming. And so this is one that I'd like to send out to you and say happy holidays to you, all right?
Thank you so much, Q. It was an honor.
No doubt, no doubt. It's FM 89.9 KMOJ.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.